All right, we'll call this Legislative Audit Commission Evaluation Subcommittee meeting to order. It is November 17th, 2025. The time is 11:01. We are in room 120 of the state capitol. I think to establish quorum, we do a roll call. So the clerk will take the roll.
Senator Dibble.
Here.
Senator Drazkowski.
Present.
Senator Rest. Representative Anderson.
Present.
Representative Lee.
Present.
Representative Quam.
Present.
That completes the roll, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, so members, our task today is to review the background papers on 10 what we call semi-finalist evaluation topics for the Office of the Auditor to conduct program evaluations in 2026 and select 4 to recommend to the full Audit Commission for approval. The Audit Commission will meet immediately following this subcommittee's meeting. We have Jody Munson-Rodriguez, who's the Deputy Legislative Auditor heading up the Program Evaluation Division, who can take us through our packet in front of us and describe a little bit more about the 10 that they've had a chance to look over, and they're all written up in these little matrix formats. And then we'll have a discussion and figure out what we want to do going forward. So any questions, members, at this point? All right, Ms. Munson-Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Jody Munson-Rodriguez. I'm the Deputy Legislative Auditor for OLA's Program Evaluation Division. And as Mr. Chair noted, the purpose of this subcommittee meeting today is to select 4 program evaluation topics to recommend to the full commission for approval moving forward in 2026. Just as a reminder to the commission, in the spring, the commission voted to change up the topic selection process a bit. Rather than selecting topics once per year in the spring, they are going to be selecting twice. So this is our second round of topic selections in 2025. Just to refresh all of your memories, there is a sheet in your packet that's called the current evaluations and estimated release dates. If you want to take a look at that, these are the 7 topics that the commission selected in the spring. These are the ones that are currently underway. As you can see, we have kind of some estimated release dates for those. We have put them in order of estimated release dates for the coming year. We believe that our first evaluation will be released right around the new year, and that should be Office of Ombudsperson for Families. As just another refresher as we move forward, if you look at the blue page, if you have a paper packet in front of you, that is the policy on program evaluation topic selection that was approved, I believe, a year ago this fall now. As a reminder, on the back of that page, under number 3A and B, the commission is required to select 2 specific types of evaluations for review. One is a smaller board, committee, or council, and another is a follow-up. And the commission has already satisfied these 2 requirements, so they don't have to keep those requirements in mind as they're making a selection right now. One more thing on the policy, I'll bring you to the other side. Those just list the criteria that the commission has adopted that it intends to use when making selections. So you'll see in writing the background papers, we have provided some information on selection criteria. And then one more piece of paper for you to look at. We have the Program Evaluation Division's assessment of proposed topics for fall 2025. This is our assessment based on those selection criteria of which topics would most likely allow OLA to provide the most value to those where we might just have a little bit less value to add for various reasons. And then the last thing in your packet are the background papers for each of the 10 semifinalist topics. So I'm happy to answer any questions or help you move forward with discussion.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? So, Ms. Munson Rodriguez, are you able and prepared maybe to run us quickly through the 10, just at a very high level, the 10 that the office has done the preliminary evaluation, or I don't know what we call it, assessment or write up on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to do that. The first one in your packet is Autism Spectrum Disorder Services in Public Schools. You'll note here that there are high state resources. There's a high level of state resources and an increasing level of state resources going into these types of programs, as well as under the timeliness, you can see that the number of being designated as having an autism as a primary disability in special education has increased. So that is one where we think that our office could add quite a lot of value to look into the quality of services and appropriateness of services that are being provided to these students.
So I just got an idea. Maybe as you do that, then we'll pause after each one
Mhm.
and ask and see if anyone has any further questions or clarifying inquiries or comments. Representative Anderson.
Thank you. I do. I don't know exactly how these are provided, but we have them in schools and we have outside providers. And this is just going to look at the in-school. Are we also going to look at just the sheer number of, 71% increase in people with autism spectrum disorder? There's something wrong in my mind with that. It's like, and are we going to be looking at how we also decide, I guess, if someone has autism? Or
Ms.
I don't
Munson.
know if it's feasible.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms. Munson
Chair,
Rodriguez.
and thank you for the question, Representative Anderson. This would certainly take some scoping. It is a large topic. And if the commission is interested in looking at how the designation is made, we could certainly look into how Minnesota Department of Education makes designations, makes standards around that, whether those align with best practices nationally. That is something that could be within the evaluation if you are interested.
Thank you. I would hope that we would do that. We need to figure out what's going on. So, thank you.
So Ms. Munson Rodriguez, I also have a question about this particular one. And maybe it's implied in some of the evaluation. I didn't quite suss it out when I read through, but this is a subject or a matter that has been in the paper. And any of those issues that have shown up in the media, would those be some of the matters which the auditor would use to evaluate, to figure out, if anything that's shown up in terms of, how billing and, how some of these services are provided, maybe in a manner that we wouldn't really uphold, and was not the legislative intent when we started expanding reach and scope of these services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe the services that you're referring to would be services that are under the purview of the Department of Human Services. So those would be outside the scope of this evaluation. This evaluation, as it is currently scoped, would be focused on school-based services. And so that would be a separate evaluation topic that, if interested, we could put on the list for the spring, certainly.
I see. Okay, thank you. Representative Kwong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the legislature and this committee are probably very interested in a lot of the initial determinations come from the school systems, and that there may be different types of autism and varying degrees, and how they recommend internal and external treatment might be something to look at for effectiveness. And also there's more problem when this segment of the autistic students get treatment of this type. In other words, we want to give the most effective and most accurate and promising treatments. So that type of analysis although it is a little bit harder to understand. I assume that there must be experts that in papers and publications and journals about, best practice and the most responsive results come from X, Y, and Z. And that type of effectiveness probably is accessible in documentation already. I believe there have been studies in several medical journals. So I would hope that we would be able to improve the system such that we are identifying and then addressing with the appropriate resources for this, because I don't think this is a trivial percentage-wise of students, nor a trivial amount of taxpayer dollars being invested. That's just the thoughts off my cuff. Thank you,
Great.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Did you want to respond, Ms. Munson Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Quam. Along the lines of, standards for diagnosis, we can certainly what MDA standards are for providing services to students. As you know, with school day-based programs, it would be nearly impossible for us to get into every district, but we could also certainly go into a to see how diagnoses and services are being provided.
Thank you. All right, are we ready to move on to OIG investigations at DHS? All right, Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next one is DHS Office of Inspector General Investigations. This is a pretty straightforward evaluation where we'd be looking at policies and procedures of the OIG's office, looking into how they handle complaints that may allege fraud or abuse, as well as how they do their own investigation into data and other ways of identifying it themselves. We think that this could be timely and useful.
All right, thank you. Questions, members? Representative Anderson.
Thank you. I think this is very important, especially as we, start discussing the independent OIG statewide again, starting in February. And so this would be really useful. And the earlier in the year you can do this, better, in my mind. So thank you.
All right, anything further? All right, moving along to enterprise talent development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For enterprise talent development, this is one that it's a pretty low level of state resources, a pretty low to medium level of impact. Our understanding is that the concern over this issue arose with some certain materials that were available through some classes in the spring. Our understanding is that there has been a full review of all of the materials available through enterprise development and a new procedure for approving all materials before they are uploaded. So if that is the specific concern, we're not sure that we would have additional value to add there. If it's more of a look at the curriculum kind of more widely, we could certainly do that.
Great, thank you. Questions, members? Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week we had a presentation about overtime and in a financial audit that was chaired by Senator Barr. And we've had reports with regard to like the governor's office with regard to internal controls and separation of duties. Does enterprise talent development, will you be looking at their curriculum to see how thoroughly trained these employees are going to be with regard to separation of duties, internal controls? And I would be particularly interested in knowing exactly how much training they get to start with, and whether in attention to internal controls and separation of duties is somehow um, widespread and is not given serious attention in initial training. That just as a, and MMB is in charge of that. They do internal controls bulletins, but how much training it goes on with regard to new employees, and particularly managers and supervisors.
Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Rust. In terms of curriculum development, if that is of interest to the commission, we can certainly scope that into an evaluation of enterprise talent development. If what you're most interested in, if what the commission is most interested in is internal controls, how individuals are being trained to ensure that those are in place, I think that might be more kind of the niche of our financial audit division. We could certainly put that on our list for consideration for that division.
Thank you.
Senator Rust. Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to see our agencies develop the talent of actually monitoring the entities that are getting funds, making sure they're actually doing it, making sure that they have the skills and talent to find, observe, and stop fraud or bad practices ahead of time. I think that's a talent that I think has been missing. So talent development would be how to read spreadsheets and see problems, evaluate the requirements and be able to actually notice when people aren't doing them. Because how many audits have we heard? I'd have to take my shoes off and use toes to count in the last few years how many audits we've had where they haven't followed the appropriate oversight, and there have been issues and problems because of it. So I see that as a component of one of the talents they should have, is supervising the entities doing the direct work and et cetera. So I guess I'd like to improve the talent, because I'm sure it's not the people, it's just that they weren't trained to actually do the things that they're required to do, which would fall underneath this enterprise talent development. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Quam. One thing I would note is I'm not sure the extent to which enterprise talent development provides training on oversight and monitoring. I know that the Office of Grants Management does most of that for grants oversight, for example. Enterprise talent development, I am just not sure how much of that development they provide, but to the extent that they do, if you were to select this, we could certainly look at those programs.
Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for enlightening me about where we would need to look to improve our agencies. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Quam, I sense a bill coming on. All right. All right, thank you. So moving on to, if there's nothing further on enterprise talent development, LCCMR.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For LCCMR, I would note that this is an evaluation that we could complete. I think that there are two main issues that I would like to bring to the attention that may not make it as useful of an evaluation as some of the other topics on the list. One of them is simply that the main question appears to be the extent to which programs are meeting the legislative purpose or the constitutional purpose of the funds. But I will also note that the constitutional purpose is broad. As we note in here, it's to protect, conserve, preserve, and enhance the state's natural resources. So it's unclear whether we'd be able to provide you all with a very definitive answer based on that language. The other thing I would just note is because over half of the commission is made up of legislators, there is just less of a separation between us and being in the legislative branch and most of the agencies we oversee. That said, we would definitely follow all of our protocols and do our best if you were to select it, but I wanted to note those two things.
Thank you. Senator Rest.
Thank you. This was a topic I suggested at our last meeting, and I do find it, I find the topic troubling because it is asking a legislative agency, the OLA, to study a legislative commission. And I find that I continue to find that the topic is fascinating because it's a different kind of commission in that it has both public members and legislative members. But I would like I'm going to not suggest that we do this, but I hope that we can look at a way or what is a more appropriate way, and maybe it is simply through a standing committee or the two standing committees in the House and the Senate to take a closer look at themselves of whether the mission of the LCCMR is being upheld and celebrated and responsible. But I was really still grateful that the suggestion that came forward did so, because it is it's a very important question for particularly the standing committees that act on the recommendations of the LCCMR, for them to have perhaps more in-depth scrutiny of the accountability for those programs. But thank you for writing up the proposal in and of itself. Thank you very much.
Response? Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I may, as just a ride along here on the evaluation, I think the question when we saw that come in is it constitutional? You know, that we have these hybrid entities that provide a quasi-executive role with legislators involved. And, you know, we over time have done more of this. And I think it is a valid constitutional question that should be, particularly when we take the recommendations in toto without any change. I agree with Senator Rest that I'm not sure that we are it's probably the other branch of government, the judicial branch, where someone should take a question because people pay sales tax into the Environment Trust Fund and would likely have standing. On the merit of kind of the statute for it, we did do some changes in terms of membership year and a half, 2 years ago, and I think those might be valuable to look at once they're a little more mature in terms of the statutory language relating to structure. But I think the constitutional question is one that isn't an audit, legislative auditor, but I think should be looked at. So thank you for providing me the opportunity to
Great.
comment.
Thank you. Do I hear? Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would concur with the discussion so far. The legislature, I think, and I've pushed this quite a bit, really needs to be willing to say no to these commissions when they bring their recommendations forward. And I think I think the problem is ourselves as a legislature and our unwillingness to say no. We want to, both with this commission and with the Lessard-Sams Council, you cross some sort of line you're not supposed to cross as a legislator or as a legislature if you deny them their full list of menu items when they bring them forward in a bill for passage. we as a legislature just need to grab a spine. And when we do so, this problem will be solved. But I do think that there is room for discussion outside of the question of constitution, both here and with the Lessard-Sams Council, about the spending that happens after the legislature authorizes it and after the governor signs the bill, and what these projects actually do with the money and whether they follow the statutes in spending the money appropriately, whether in the process of refunding them for expenses, because as I understand it, that's mainly how that money is spent, is that the entities do the project and then the legislature comes back, or the agency comes back and reimburses them for their expenses. Whether all of that fiscal accounting is done properly, because I have seen cases in the past where there's been fraud or abuse of funds or misuse of funds that we as a legislature should be concerned about in that segment that occurs after the bill is approved and when the entities that receive the money are actually conducting the projects and reporting back or not reporting back properly to the legislature. That's the area both here and with Lessard-Sams that I think this commission could maybe spend some time in the future if we don't have that happening properly already. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So in response to that, Ms. Munson Rodriguez, is that the kind of thing that could perhaps occur, at least on a preliminary basis, under a more routine sort of financial analysis or audit? Welcome, Auditor Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, Judy Randall, Legislative Auditor. I just wanted to jump in to let you know that we are finishing up right now a financial audit looking at the Department of Natural Resources oversight of Outdoor Heritage Fund money and kind of getting at some of the exact questions that Senator Drazkowski just mentioned. So yes, those are questions that OLA would look at, but those would be more in the financial audit division.
Great.
Thanks.
That's good news. Thank you. Senator Drazkowski, any follow-up?
None, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Randall.
Thank you. I know we're kind of going a little slower than I thought. It's my fault because I had this idea of going through these very slowly and deliberately, but I do have another question, which is, and maybe it was answered, I was a little distracted for a few minutes. Under timeliness in the matrix, there was mention of a conversation at the LCCMR in which the members came to agreement on the appropriate use of Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund funds. Can you just give like 15 seconds? What was that agreement? I assume that's in the nature of the types of projects that are appropriately funded.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes. The information we got from reading their minutes was that they had some discussion about some of these types of projects like baseball fields, splash pads. And essentially what they decided was that they would not use money to build those types of kind of attractions, but they may use money to enhance the sustainability of them or natural resources around them. So I'm trying to think of like planting grass around them or things like that might fit more in with the purpose of the funding.
I see. So I know, for example, there's the Schoolyards Initiative that's funded through LCCMR. One aspect of that is playgrounds, but another aspect are kind of enhancing the natural resources, a part of like a 3 to 5 acre development of space around schools. Some of it is active play and some of it is, restoring forested areas and wetlands and things like that. So that portion perhaps is appropriate, the playground, perhaps not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's my understanding.
I see. Thank you. All right. Anything further on LCCMR, members? All right, moving on. MnDOT works, I might be going in a different order. Oh, yeah, no, MnDOT work site safety inspections.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In looking at this one, we think that it's an important topic. It's a timely topic. At the same time, it is a very complicated topic. I'll note that safety inspections aren't one activity. They're a collection of activities that occur across the agency. So we would have to do some scoping to determine exactly what aspects of that we'd be looking at. The other thing I would note is that when selecting this topic to look into, we talked a little bit about a couple of very tragic accidents that happened this fall. I do know that MinOSHA has been looking into those specific accidents. And so that type of information should be coming out soon. And if you selected this topic, we would just need to maybe get some more information so that we aren't overlapping in any information we provide.
All right. Questions, comments, members? All right. Moving on. Non-emergency medical transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a topic that, while very important, we think is not timely at this time. In 2025, the legislature did pass laws that will fundamentally change the provision of these types of, from being mostly county-based to mostly state-based. Because of that change, we don't think that it's an appropriate time for us to evaluate it. We don't believe that once we had recommendations, they would be implementable because of those changes.
All right, thank you. Questions, comments, members? All right, I'm getting help for those of you online, so if I miss you, my helper will make sure that I get to you. So, okay, state oversight of long-term care insurance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one that OLA could definitely look at. The thing that I would bring your attention to is the discussion at the bottom. Rates for long-term care insurance have risen remarkably across the country in recent years. This isn't something that is happening specifically in Minnesota. Because of that, there may be systemic issues for these rate raises rather than Minnesota-specific reasons. And so because of that, we're not sure how much value we could provide within this, but we could certainly look at how Commerce does their work in reviewing the rates.
Great, thank you. Questions, comments, members? All right. Moving on to state regulation of nursing home care.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one that broke off from, if you recall, in the spring, you selected assisted living and nursing home care. And at that time, we noted we would likely need to scope one way or the other because it is a giant field. So nursing home care was scoped out of that current evaluation. We are looking specifically at assisted living. If you are interested in looking at nursing home care, we do definitely think that there are some important questions that we could answer for you in terms of looking. I know that there are some questions about how change of ownership might play into quality. So those are issues that we believe we could get at. It would not, again, be a very large evaluation. We would likely need to scope around certain issues, but we could work with you on that.
Great. Comments, members? So, maybe you mentioned it. We're having something similar, with now that we're a few years into licensure of assisted living. We're taking a look at how well that is working in terms of providing for all the elements that licensure was designed and intended to provide for. Whenever we get into this conversation about long-term care settings, of which there are a variety, but primarily assisted living and then skilled nursing, a lot of the same issues. A lot of people don't really differentiate and make a distinction, and so the conversation intersects quite a bit. And so, at least in my experience, as I hear about what people are experiencing in nursing home care, which is substantially more regulated, there's a significant federal component to standards of care that come into effect more so than you find in assisted living. We continue to get just a lot of indication in, at least in my office, that there continue to be a lot of problems for people of a whole variety. So I would be interested in this particular one myself. Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You said you are interested in?
I am,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. I am too, but I have a question. Maybe you know the answer. Have there been reports about, now that we have the regulation of assisted living facilities, have the standing committees of the legislature been receiving information about reviews of the assisted living facilities and reports and taken, any corrective action that needs to be taken, or, passing with flying colors, or has that happened, Ms. Munson Rodriguez?
Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Rest. I do know that the Department of Human Services is required to do kind of what they call a bit of a report card. They call it a
Okay.
survey
That's what I'm
on
asking.
assisted
Yep.
living facilities. And so they have been doing surveys of folks in those areas. Department of Health is also required to do licensing visits there. The extent to which there have been specific reports to the legislature, I am unclear on. But there is information available from both of those entities.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Rest.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Munson Rodriguez, are those reports that you listed that are being made to Health and Human Services, are they annual reports that every facility needs to file either every fiscal year or every calendar year?
Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair, Senator Rest. They are not annual. I know that the licensing, I believe, is every 3 years. I'm looking to David.
All right, we've got phone a friend, come forward friend.
My phone a friend who is the manager on this evaluation, and he may have more specific information for you.
All right, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, David Kirshner with the Legislative Auditor's Office. I am looking forward to presenting our report to you because obviously there's a lot of interest. When we do get there, we will be able to cover all of these questions, and I look forward to presenting that to you. But the short answer is that assisted living facilities are required to be inspected, the term that the department uses is surveyed, every 2 years. But of course, if there are specific complaints that arise, the department can go in on a case-by-case basis if there's a specific complaint that they need to look at. So that's all public information. I'm happy to share that with you, but the more to come.
Senator Rest.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I also know, Mr. Kirshner, maybe don't go too far away. I also know that we have the Office of the Ombudspersons, and they spend quite a bit of time looking into complaints and or taking initiative to assess what's going on both inside assisted living and skilled nursing and transitional care facilities. Do they provide, I mean, I've certainly received a lot of information with respect to the facilities in my own district, which are very troubling. But do they have a routine or systematic way of reporting out the kinds of information they're coming into?
So the Office of Ombuds for Long-Term Care is, I think, the office that you're referring to, and they do issue reports from time to time that are available on their website, and I assume that they present them to standing committees. My guess is, like many ombuds offices, they are happy to receive invitations to come and talk about their work.
Great, thank you. All right, anything further? Moving along to the Taxpayers Transportation Accountability Act. TTAA.
All right.
Ms. Munson
Thank you,
Rodriguez.
Mr. Chair. Last but not least, Taxpayers Transportation Accountability Act.
No, two more.
Oh, You're right, sorry. Not last, second to last, but not least. We've got TTAA. This is run through the Department of Transportation. This is a topic that I think is feasible. I think that it could be useful. There's also nothing necessarily pressing about the topic, but happy to answer any questions about it.
Questions, comments, members? All right. I'll indicate that I'm interested in this one. It's no secret. I've mentioned that a few times before. The short version is this legislation was passed a number of years ago. And I think it would be an appropriate time to see if, in fact, the goals of the legislation are being fulfilled, and whether or not the legislation as intended is being followed appropriately by the Department of Transportation. Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, I think most members are prepared and ready to vote in the affirmative for this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, Senator Drazkowski, we have one more to be heard, if that's okay. Representative Kwong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The thing that I'd be interested in seeing is where they go external instead of internal. I want to make sure they're fully utilizing, the internal groups that are doing the work, because I think that experience maybe makes for better work. Just a point, and this would tell us how well they're balancing internal and external, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Kwong. Was a question to me?
No, I just wanted to make sure I went through the speaker.
Oh, I'm a speaker now.
Even with
I don't know if that's a promotion or a demotion. Yeah. Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Quam. Yes, I think that the decision-making process for determining internal versus external expertise in these projects would be one of the key aspects of the evaluation. One other thing I just do want to point out to the commission is that there are two topics right now under consideration where it would be at the Department of Transportation. So maybe just keep that in mind as you're selecting the four. If we were to have two at one agency, that could be a bit of a burden to them. So it may be useful to choose one or the other of those.
Great. Thank you. All right. Waiver Reimagine.
Thank you. So Waiver Reimagine, as you may be aware, is a collection of activities that DHS has been undertaking for a number of years to transform the disability services waivers. There's been some concern about the amount of time that it has taken to make these changes. I would note that while OLA could certainly look into the decision-making process as DHS has been implementing this program, it is really right in the middle of the program itself, or I'm not even sure I would call it a program, collection of activities itself. And therefore, we really wouldn't have any ability to say what type of impact these changes are having yet. So if we were to look into this, it would simply be kind of a process evaluation of how DHS is making decisions.
All right. Thank you. Okay, questions, comments, members? I mean, the only question I had or comment I had was, I understand the point you make, but I think the concern is DHS moving to the right place? There's been just a lot that has come up in our respective offices of concern and worry on the part of those who receive waivered services about where this is all headed. And I don't know if that's something that we just need to do ourselves on the legislative side, or if that's something I just don't know if that's something you can help us with, or the office can help us with as we move towards, as we're in the consideration and standing up implementation phase or not. Ms. Munson Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, absolutely. If the interest is in the activities that have been taken to this point and moving forward versus the legislative goals, we can look at that process and how those decisions have been making and the extent to which they align. I just want to caution the commission that because it's in process right now, we would not be able to review the impact of all of these changes at this point.
Right, right. Yeah. Raises a good question about the tool of the, audit and the program evaluation that we use. As we're in transition from one thing to another, is that a good tool? And if it's not, what is? Because this is a long, long process. We've actually paused it or slowed it down because of these concerns. And how do we, what measuring stick and or redirection do we have? So Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you're ready for a motion, I'm ready to present one.
Well, I already had Senator Rest in my ear asking to be recognized for that same purpose. So maybe if you don't mind, she's in the queue ahead of you, and we can take amendments and reformulate the motion from there.
Thank
So,
you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Rest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Drazkowski. Perhaps our motion would be similar. I like to pay particular attention to the program evaluation.
Madam Chair, if I may interrupt you.
Yes.
We did have a request from the member of the public to testify, a request which I'm going to decline. This is not a public hearing, and it wasn't noticed as a public hearing. So just so that we put that on the record. I'd also put on the record that Senator Rest is here and Representative Greenman is here. And actually, she sent me a text. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry about this. Representative Greenman, you had sent me a text. Did you want to be recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was trying to get in a while back, but just wanted to note and really appreciate the work of the subcommittee that the issue of and nobody spoke about the state oversight of long-term care insurance. It's an issue that when we have been looking at on the Fraud Prevention Committee, a set of folks looking broadly at how fraud is impacting Minnesotans. And I know that there's members working on legislation around it, but the issue of long-term care insurance and denial of claims that then get delayed and then people pass away and actually will have no further claims against that insurance company is something that we've seen on the rise in Minnesota. I'm sure it may be a national problem too, but so I just to note, I don't know if folks have talked to our colleagues who've been working on that, but it is an important issue that I think uniquely how that's being regulated in Minnesota is ripe right now. So just to say that.
Thank you. All right, back to Senator Rest.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I was beginning to say, I pay very close attention to the discussions particularly about feasibility and balance that are part of the assessments and then how they are rated by the division from most promising to least promising. And in that vein, Mr. Chairman, I move that we, since we're choosing 4, that we choose the first 4 that are on the top of the most promising. That is the Autism Spectrum Disorder Services and the DHS Office of Inspector General Investigation, the Taxpayers Transportation Accountability Act, and state regulation of nursing home care to be the additional 4 program evaluations that we recommend to the full commission for the division to undertake at this point.
Okay, so Senator Rest has kicked us off here with a motion nominating the first 4 on the Program Evaluation Division's assessment of proposed topics. You can read them there: autism, DHS, OLG, TTAA, and nursing home care. And now we'll open it up for discussion or amendments to the motion. All right. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, I guess I would support the motion. I, for sure, think the first two are absolutely imperative that we take, so.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything further, members? Senator Rest.
Thank you. I would also point out that we look for spreading out among different agencies or different topics of concern. And we have certainly one in education, then one generally in a DHS and transportation, and then specifically in nursing home care. And I like the notion that we're achieving balance across cross agencies as part of my recommendation in the motion.
Great. I see Senator Driscoll's hand is up. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the motion, Senator Rest. I agree wholeheartedly. Mr. Chair, I'd informally call for the question. In other words, members, let's vote.
All right. Senator Driscoll is ready to get on with it. All right. Anything further? All right. Is this a roll call?
Because we have online members, yes.
All right. So the clerk will take the roll.
Senator Dibble,
Yes.
Senator Drazkowski,
Aye.
Senator Rest,
Yes.
Representative Anderson,
Yes.
Representative Lee,
Yes.
and Representative Quam.
Aye.
All members voted. The motion passed unanimously.
All right. Anything further this time, members? So with that, this is the recommendation that we will make to the full Legislative Audit Commission in mere moments. And we are, oh, no, did I say the motion carries?
Yes.
I did say
you
that.
Didn't, so do.
Oh, the motion carries. And with that, we are adjourned.
And with that, going to call to order meeting of the full Legislative Audit Commission and would ask the person responsible to call the roll.
Senator Rest,
Present.
Senator Barr, Senator Barr, Senator Dibble,
Here.
Senator Drazkowski,
Present.
Senator Karan, Senator Karan, Senator Zhang, Senator Zhang, Representative Quam,
Present.
Representative Anderson,
Present.
Representative Greenman,
Present.
Representative Hansen,
Here.
Representative Jacob,
Jacob, present.
Representative Lee.
Lee, present.
That completes the roll. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Senator Dibble, do you have a report from the evaluation subcommittee accompanied by a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the evaluation subcommittee of the Legislative Audit Commission is recommending that we have the Office of the Legislative Auditor engage in a program evaluation for the Autism Spectrum Disorder Services in Public Schools topic, the DH Office of Inspector General Investigations, the Taxpayers Transportation Accountability Act, and the state regulation of nursing home care. And no changes in detail to the description of those as provided to us by the OLA. And Madam Chair, I would move those 4 topics.
Okay, we have a motion before us. Is there discussion? Is there discussion online by anyone? No? Seeing none, all those in favor, going to ask again for a roll call. The person in charge will take a roll.
Senator Rest,
Aye.
Senator Barr, Senator Barr, Senator Dibble,
Yes.
Senator Drazkowski,
Aye.
Senator Karan, Senator Karan. Senator Zhang. Senator Zhang. Representative Quam.
Aye, aye.
Representative Anderson. Representative Greenman.
Aye.
Representative Hanson.
Aye.
Representative Jacob.
Yes.
Representative Lee.
Aye.
That completes the roll. The motion passes unanimously.
The motion then prevails. I will repeat the comment made by Senator Dibble with regard to the subcommittee meeting. This is not a hearing in which the public testifies. This is a decision-making hearing, and so we will not take any public testimony. And this is, I thank Mr. Heller for his request and for his interest in our work, but we are not taking any public testimony. So that motion prevailed unless there is further comment from the auditor's office. There being no further business before the Legislative Audit Commission, we are adjourned.